All right. Well, the moderator is up here, so let's get to it.
Is
All
it
right, this is what we do. We pretty much have a 5 minute or 2 minute open. We're live now, so fellas, this is how we started. No,
hold on
no,
now? We already agreed on a debate how we were going to do this beforehand. It was a 40-minute opening and then 30-minute open discussion and then 15-minute rebuttal.
Wait. We said 2 minute intro between both parties, bro. Remember?
No. I sent you the message and you agreed on that.
Okay, I can bring it up. I sent back said 2 minutes per
Is that Dan who's speaking right now?
Was all right?
Is that Dan who's speaking right now?
Yeah, that's me. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah, we agreed that it was going to be at least a 2 minute opening introduction, right? And then after that, we can get into our breakdown at least 15 minutes, no longer than 20 minutes, okay?
No, you messed up the debate. I had my thing already set up. It was a 40-minute opening, and then a 30-minute open discussion, and then it was a 15-minute rebuttal. That was the last message you sent me.
That's all within the. Okay, all right. Look, I'm gonna bring it up.
How are you going to break down both careers in 15 minutes?
no, you don't get it. Here's how it goes. A 2 minute on opening your introduction from both of you. And then the first round is 15 minutes. The second round's 15 minutes of what you didn't get to put, or what you didn't get to finish the first round. And then the third round's open discussion where y'all both have 30 minutes going back and forth with one another's argument. And then y'all both get 10 minutes each for y'all final statements.
Can we do, like, how am I going to break down both Holyfield and Mayweather's career in 15 minutes?
Eternal, you get 2 rounds, which is 30 minutes to do your argument.
Okay, so I got 30 minutes, not 15.
15 for the first and 15 the second, but that's a total of 30 minutes of getting all what you need to get done. Plus, you get the rebuttal where he said that you find false and stuff. And he gets to do the same thing. You both,
that's good. I'm good with that.
You both get 15 minutes for each round, and then the final round, y'all both have 30 minutes rebuttal against one another. Now, the rules are no racial undertones, do not insult one another, do not interrupt one another unless it's the third round. The third round is when y'all can go back and forth, but here's the thing. You both have to answer one another's questions. When y'all ask a question, you better answer it. Okay? Is that understood?
Hold on. Is the moderator going to ask questions, or is he going to ask questions?
He's going to ask you a question. You could ask him a question. And both of y'all got to answer one another's questions.
All right. That's all good.
Okay, and then when y'all, once 30 minutes is up, I'm going to say time. When 15 minutes are up, I'm going to say time. When 2 minutes are up, I'm going to say time. And then the 10 minutes with your final statements, I'm going to say time. And
All
that's
right. Can
that.
I grab a soda real quick?
Go ahead.
All right. I'll be right back.
Is that understood, Dan?
That's understood.
Okay. I don't want no confusion. So who wants to go first with the introduction? Is when he comes back, I'm going to ask either you or him. And then
Go ahead.
hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. And when 2 minutes are up from both of y'all's introductions, I'm going to say now we get to start the first round. Okay? The first guy, and both of y'all get to agree who goes first and who goes last, okay?
Okay.
You know, and after that, you know, y'all go as long as you want.
How about this? Because I already said I'll go first for the opening round, but I want to go last in the rebuttal.
The rebuttal?
Wow.
Didn't they say there was going to be a 15-minute rebuttal or something like that?
No, you get 30 minutes of open discussion. Meaning 30 minutes means you both go back and forth against one another. at the same time. That's what open discussion is. And so basically 15 minutes after he get, I mean, who's gonna go first? You, Eternal. So if you go first, that means you get to introduce first for 2 minutes, and then he introduced Holyfield for 2 minutes, and then Eternal, you go first for 15 minutes, and then after you, Dan goes for 15 minutes, and then we go to round 2, and you go for 15 minutes, and then he goes for 15 minutes, and then after that, round 3, y'all both go at one another's necks for open discussion. And then after 10 minutes each when it comes to your closing statements, which means you claim about what you have proved in your arguments and what your opposition did not prove in their arguments and why.
Right, that's what I was talking about. Closing statements, rebuttal. Can I go last if I'm going to go first? So I'm going to go first for the 15 minutes. Can I go last?
Dan, do you have a problem with him going last with his closing statements?
No, I have no problem with that.
All right, is that cool?
I'm good to go.
All right, so Eternal, you started off. You got 2 minutes, and you start right now.
All right, I'd like to thank my opponent for the debate, and let's understand the debate topic. The debate topic is, who is greater, Floyd Mayweather or Evander Holyfield? Now, I'm going to say that both are great fighters. And, you know, Mayweather has a record of 26-0 in title fights with 10 KOs. And Evander Holyfield has a record of 16-7-2 with 9 KOs in world title fights. And has a record of 19-9-2 with 10 KOs against former, current, and world titleists. Now, you can already see that Mayweather has a 10 title fight advantage over Evander Holyfield, and he has no losses on his resume. Now, I'm going to seek to prove in this debate that not only did Mayweather fight better opposition, but he also has more title fights and more wins over that opposition. And can I yield my time?
You got 1 minute.
Can I yield my time?
You got 1 minute. I'm giving you an extra minute.
No, I'm done. Can I yield my time?
All right, you're done. Now Dan, go.
Okay, well, first things first, I'd like to say thank you again, Eternal, for this debate. Yes, we do agree on one point, even though we rarely agree on anything. Both Holyfield and Mayweather are great fighters, okay? No question about that. But it depends on how one defends on greatness, okay? Now, I know you had took a minute to delve into Holyfield's record in title fights versus Floyd Mayweather's record in title fights. Let me add a quick point to that, okay? Now, you say that Floyd Mayweather fought better opposition than Holyfield. Well, obviously we all disagree. I can disagree with that because let's say, for example, here, Holyfield, yes, he's 16-7 in title fights, right? But it depends on the level of opposition that he had fought. Okay, we can go to the list like the Dwight Muhammad Kawis, the Riddick Bowe's, the George Foremans, the Larry Holmes, the Mike Tysons, yes, even the Buster Douglas, Michael Dokes, Michael Moore. I can go on and on and on, and yes, even Lennox Lewis. Okay, mind you, all these fighters that I named, with the exception of Douglas and Dokes, are all-time greats and Hall of Famers. Okay, now Evander in his career defeated 5 Hall of Famers. Okay. And all these guys were dominant, unified, and undisputed heavyweight champions of the world. Okay? Now, he has defeated he's defeated 6 unified champions, while Floyd's only defeated 2. He's defeated 4 undisputed heavyweight champions, 3 or 4 of which are Hall of Famers, and Floyd's only defeated 1. Okay? He's won 11 world titles, equally as Floyd. He only did that in 2 divisions, 3 at cruiserweight and heavyweight.
Time. That was your introductions. That don't mean that sound like material you're supposed to put in your rounds. But
Right.
anyway, you're supposed to prove why Mayweather has an inferior resume compared to Holyfield, and that's all you had to say. You was going to
That's
prove
why I
why,
was.
and he was supposed to say what he was supposed to say why Holyfield's resume is inferior to Mayweather's, and he's going to prove why. And then the first round, y'all throw all y'all statistics and all that good stuff. Is
Okay.
that it? All right? So I'm going to give Dan, I mean not Dan, but Eternal the first round to go. He got 15 minutes. So we start right now.
Now, what I meant is he beat better opposition. Now, Mayweather's opposition has 175 wins in title fights compared to Holyfield's opposition, which only has 100 wins in title fights. And Mayweather climbed up 5 divisions. Now, let's take a trip through Holyfield's career. Now, he beat Tyrone Booze, who was 10-3-2 at the time, and he's a future world champion, and I'm not really impressed by that win. Now, he did fight for his first title at cruiserweight, and he did fight against the Hall of Famer, Dwight Muhammad Quahi, and 26-2, and he is a good Hall of Famer, but Holyfield struggled in this fight. He gassed, he got beat up in the fight, and the fight was a split decision, right, for his first fight. And you won't find a single fight on Mayweather's career where he looks as atrocious as Holyfield looked in this fight. Now, he goes up and beats Henry Tillman, which Henry Tillman beat like nobody, and Ricky Parkey for the IBF title. Now, everybody knows that the cruiserweight division is not the strongest division out there, and it's a new division at this time. I think it started in '79, but anyway, Ricky Parkey, IBF, and he had like I think 2 defenses. Ossie Ocasio didn't have a world title at the fight, but you know he's a former world champion, and it's an okay defense. 21-4, and then he rematched Dwight Muhammad Quahi, and he did knock him out in the 4th round. I will say this is a good win for him. And then Carlos De Leon, he didn't fight the best opposition, but you know he's got a bunch of world title fights, and this is when he unified the division and became the lineal champion. And this is the first time he became a lineal champion, and he's got no defenses here, right? No lineal defenses, no undisputed defenses, and then James Tillis, Pinkleton Thomas, forget about it. And then he fought Michael Dokes, and this was a good fight, and he's a future world champion, 37-1, and he did kind of struggle in this fight. And Michael Dokes, you know, contender at the time, and, you know, he won a world title down the road and no successful defenses, right? And, you know, he's fighting contenders, Alex Stewart, beat nobody, and, you know, then he goes up to and fights James Buster Douglas. Now, James Buster Douglas just got done, you know, he beat Mike Tyson, and he was like a 44-1 underdog against Mike Tyson. He is not the greatest heavyweight in the world. And he ballooned up in weight, ordering like $98 worth of food at his hotel before the fight. Now, Mayweather had to earn his titles the hard way, right? You say that they got the same amount of titles. Well, he wins 3 titles here at once, right, against James Buster Douglas. Mayweather had to climb up 5 divisions and win his titles the hard way. And yeah, he beat James Buster Douglas, and, you know, it's an okay win. It's a solid win, undisputed champion, but it's still James Buster Douglas, right? And George Foreman, 42 years old at the time. Now, he is an all-time great, don't get me wrong. But, you know, 10-year layoff, and you will not find anybody on Mayweather's resume who's 42 years old. Let's just put it that way. And it's a good win, solid win for Evander Holyfield. And Bert Cooper, forget about it. And then Larry Holmes, 42 years old, right? You know, way past his prime. And, he didn't even, he looked like he was past his prime in the fight. And then he fights Riddick Bowe. And, Big Daddy Riddick Bowe. And understand something, Mayweather's undefeated in his career. And he fought Riddick Bowe and got his ass kicked. And I want to talk a little bit about the 10th round because I know my opponent's going to try to bring up the 10th round where supposedly it was a great round. Well, Riddick Bowe won that round, bashing Holyfield around the ring, and he won the fight. So that's what I think about that round. And that's, his first loss. And he fights Riddick Bowe again. And this was a very close fight. And I want to bring this up because I know my opponent's probably going to bring up Castillo, right? And this was a majority decision. And the British telecasters, one had Bowe winning, and the other one had it a draw. And Riddick Bowe landed like 100 more punches than Holyfield in this fight. And that's something to think about if he wants to bring up Castillo. But that's a good win for Evander Holyfield. Now, let me talk a little bit about Riddick Bowe. Big Daddy Riddick Bowe, who is Holyfield's daddy because he beat him 2 times and knocked his ass out, right? And, Mayweather has never been knocked out, right? He has never lost a fight. Never been officially knocked down by a punch. So that's something to think about. And, he goes up and fights Michael Mora, undefeated Michael Mora, and loses that fight, right? And kind of got schooled and kind of got outboxed. Has Mayweather ever been outboxed? I don't think so. And then Ray Mercer's a marginal champion with some power, and he gets a UD over him. And then he fights Riddick Bowe and gets knocked the fuck out, right? And then Bobby Sis, and I think he came up from cruiserweight, and he's a solid ex-champion, but he was moving up, and I don't even think he was in the best time of his career. Let me see. When did he fight Evander Holyfield? Yeah, he wasn't in the best time of his career, and wasn't even in title contention. So not that great of a fight. Now, he beat Mike Tyson. This is a good win, I would say, for Evander Holyfield. But, if people want to talk about past their prime, right, I don't think anybody thinks that Mike Tyson was in his prime. And he got his fucking ass kicked by a 44-1 underdog. So that's something to think about. And then the second fight, yeah, I don't know about that. Bit his ear off. But it's still another solid win. And then he beats Michael Moore. And I'd say this is a good win for Evander Holyfield. And he picks up the WBA, IBF title, and then fights Von Bean, a defense. And then he fights Lennox Lewis. And everybody fucking knows Lennox Lewis beat his ass. I mean, criminal scorecards, for sure. And then he beat his ass again. And then he fights John Ruiz. Now, I would say John Ruiz is like the Marcos Maidana of the heavyweight division. Now, he fought John Ruiz the first time, and everybody knows he got his fucking ass kicked in that fight, too. And that's why there was a rematch. Total fucking robbery in that fight. And, Holyfield fans will like to talk about robberies, but there are many robberies on Holyfield's record. And this for sure was a robbery. And he fought John Ruiz again, and John Ruiz kicked his ass. Now, when has Mayweather ever gone 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 draw with a fighter like John Ruiz? Never happened. And And then he fights Hakeem Rockman, coming off of a KO, and everybody knows that Hakeem Rockman was not a great fighter. He won the title from Lewis, and that's about it. And, you know, headbutt Holyfield, butted him, and, you know, big hematoma. But, you know, actually, the scorecards are split in this fight. But you know, I thought Holyfield was ahead, but not a great win. And then he gets beat by Chris Bird. James Toney knocks him out. Understand that Mayweather's never been knocked out. Not one time, right? And, you know, and that's pretty much most of his career. He loses again to Larry McDonald and, you know, fights for a WBO title. Sultan Ibragimov, I don't know who that is. Anyway, I didn't watch that fight. But then he fights Nikolai Valuev. Now, supposedly this is a fucking robbery, but Holyfield didn't do shit in this fight, right? But throw a couple flurries. And, you know, it was a close fight. And a lot of people would like to talk about, you know, the big weight advantage, right? Like 100-pound weight advantage. But understand something about heavyweights. The bigger they get, the more awkward they get, right? So just because a heavyweight weighs 310 pounds, think about Butterbean, for example. The bigger you get, you know, you might turn into a bowling ball or something like that. And that's how it's always been in the heavyweight division. The bigger you get, the more awkward you get. And a lot of times, these fighters are easy prey for a smaller fighter. And no, I don't think it was a robbery. I watched the fight a couple of times, and it was one of the most boring fights that I've ever seen. And Franz Botha, forget about it. And that pretty much sums up his career. Now, I want to talk a little bit about undisputed champion, because I know that's going to get brought up in debate. I want to talk a little bit about lineal title. Mayweather has been a lineal champion for 15 years. Holyfield, only 2. And when I get to Mayweather's resume, I'm going to show you why it's greater than these undisputed, you know, championships which Holyfield won. How much time do I got? Hello?
You got 3 more minutes.
3 more minutes? Yeah, so, you know, summing up his resume, he does have a Hall of Fame resume, and he's an all-time great. But he's just got too many stains on his resume to mess with Mayweather. Understand that losses are negatives on a resume. They are not positives on a resume. And that's what people need to understand. I would say that Holyfield fought better opposition in total, but I wouldn't say he beat better opposition when you get down to it. Mayweather's resume is stacked, and I'm going to get to that shortly in my next rebuttal. And, you know, if prime fighters get brought up, Larry Holmes, some of his best wins, Larry Holmes, 42 years old, George Foreman, 42 years old, you know, and, you know, I think that Mayweather did it the hard way rather than beating James Buster Douglas and winning 3 titles at once, right? Mayweather had to win his titles individually, going up in weight. So, yeah, I definitely think Mayweather's titles came a little harder to him. And I'm going to yield my time.
Okay, nice nice first round by Eternal. Now we go to Dan. Dan, it's your turn.
Yes, sir. Well, first thing first, I have to say my opponent did concede that Holyfield fought better opposition than Mayweather. Okay, number 1. Number 2, I like to point out my opponent brought up something about Mayweather having more title his opponents have, or he has more title wins than Evander Holyfield record-wise. Well, I'd like to point out that Holyfield's opponent's win-loss record is 1,781 wins and 445 losses and 42 draws, while Mayweather's opponent's win-loss record is 1,536 wins, 472 losses, and 54 draws. Now, Evander's opponent's win-loss record has 256 more wins compared to Mayweather's opponents, and 27 fewer losses and 12 fewer draws. Why is that? And let me get into that for a second. Okay? First things first. He brought up Dwight Muhammad Ali. All right? First of all, Dwight Muhammad Ali was a heavy favorite to beat Holyfield in their first fight. Okay? No one gave Evander a chance to win because they thought he was thrown into the wolves, and that was his 12th pro fight. Okay? That fight right there went down as one of the greatest fights of all time. In fact, the greatest cruiserweight fight of all time. That was a slugfest, straight up all-brawl war. Yes, Evander got gassed, but he found the heart and courage to fight back and win against much adversity. Okay? Then after that, he did have 5 title defenses right there, 5 successful title defenses. First against, tune-up against, excuse me here. First against Mike Brothers, second against Henry Tillman. Now, you mentioned Henry Tillman didn't do anything. Well, Henry Tillman beat Mike Tyson twice in the amateurs. Yes, unfortunately, he didn't have a great pro career, but he did beat a man who was once feared in the heavyweight division. The same man who became undisputed champion at a very young age and a world champion at a young age, who cleaned out the division. No one on Floyd's resume has the accomplishments, the accolades, or the attributes of Mike Tyson. Not one. Okay? He defeated Ricky Parquet. Okay? Yes, we all know Ricky Parquet. He did have a career slide after Holyfield beat him. Let's not forget, Ricky Parquet was a good champion prior to the Holyfield fight. All right? Second, then he beat Carlos De Leon. Okay? Now, Carlos De Leon is one of the greatest cruiserweights of all time. Okay? I don't understand why this guy is not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he should be. All right? Then he goes up to heavyweight. He fights James Quick Tillis. All right? Now, what people don't know about James Quick Tillis, he was a good heavyweight. Yes, he had a career slide when he got older. But the fact is, James Quick Tillis gave Mike Tyson his first ever problems. He's the first man to go the distance against him in his prime. Now, this is the same James Quick Tillis who defeated Ernie Schaefer's. Now, if you don't know who Ernie Schaefer is, let me explain and give you a little insight on Ernie Schaefer's. All right, this is the same Ernie Schaefer's that knocked out Ken Norton, a Hall of Famer. Okay, the same Ken Norton who beat Ali. All right, he almost knocked out Larry Holmes, the guy that you tried to discredit. Okay. Then he went on to beat Pinklin Thomas. Now, Pinklin Thomas was a world champion for 2 years. He defeated Tim Witherspoon and Mike Weaver, who were also world champions, who also were great at that time in the 80s. Okay? Now, Pinklin Thomas is a much better opponent than most of Floyd Mayweather's opponents. Okay? Let me give you an example. Jesus Chavez, a paper champion at best. Jesus Chavez won the champion twice, but didn't even have one successful defense. Not one. Okay? You have Chop Corley. Chop Corley, okay? This is the same guy now who, I mean, this guy's greatest win on his record is against Randall Bailey. That's it, all right? Greater than a Henry Brussels, a Toro Gotti, you know what I mean, human puncher bag. No disrespect to Toro Gotti, but it is what it is. Then a Sean Bay Mitchell. I mean, I could go on and on and on. In fact, there's another guy that you didn't mention in your presentation, is Emmanuel Augustus. Now, at that time when Floyd fought Emmanuel Augustus was 22-16 at that time. Of course, he had ended up with an overall record of 38-34. You know, Floyd mentioned that Emmanuel Augustus was his toughest opponent that he's ever faced. Okay? Now, if Emmanuel Augustus is your toughest opponent, what does that say to you about your record of opposition and who you have fought? Okay? And he also didn't mention that Evander became a linear champion in his 16th pro fight, and Mayweather became a linear champion in his 18th pro fight. Okay? Since then, he only defeated go back here. Since then, Floyd, on the other hand, only had he fought 4 champions out of 8 title defenses. Okay? And then he moved up to lightweight. But guess who was waiting there for him for a unification bout? Stevie Forbes and Joe Casamayor. They were also champions in their prime in that super featherweight division. Okay? Yes, he defeated Diego Corrales at that time, which is his greatest win on his record. because he was an underdog. But let's not forget that Diego Corrales was weight drained. Okay, he had to go down to 130 to fight him, which is not his fighting weight. Okay, when Corrales was asking for a rematch, Floyd declined it. So he moves up to 135. He only had 4 fights at that weight division. He got a world title shot against Jose Luis Castillo. The same Castillo, who's a very, very limited fighter, but not a great fighter. Okay. Yes, we can argue that Castillo got robbed on the cards. Okay. Yes, Floyd should have lost that fight, in my opinion. But yes, he did get a rematch, which was warranted. But that rematch was totally stunk the house. It was not a great fight, okay? Then he fights a Philip Ndu, and then he fights, excuse me here, hold on. Okay, I'll talk to you later, bye. Sorry about that, that was my mom, y'all. Okay, he fought Philip Ndu, okay, and then he fought Vittorio Sosa. Okay, Vittorio Sosa, let me talk about that for a second, okay? Vittorio Sosa is the same guy whose greatest win on his record against Justin Juco, okay? Justin Juco, all right? He only had 4 fights at lightweight, and he moved up in weight. Why was that? I'll tell you why. Because there was another guy in that division who wanted a unification bout with him, which is Paul Spadafora, all right? Paul Spadafora was undefeated at that time, okay? He wanted that unification fight against Floyd. In case you don't know who Paul Spadafora is, he's the same guy that beat the crap out of Floyd in his sparring session, okay? Then there was also Joe Casamayor there waiting for him, and there was also Torio Congorian, who was actually a long reigning lightweight champion who once broke Roberto Duran's record with 17 straight title defenses. He was there waiting for Floyd. He also had Stevie Johnston there waiting for Floyd at lightweight. So he only had 4 fights at lightweight, and he moves up to super lightweight. Okay? Yes, he has an undefeated record, but there's a reason behind that, because going up to super lightweight, he had defeated Henry Brussels. Okay? Now, you want to talk about Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas fought better opposition than Floyd at lightweight. Henry Brussels. Okay? Now, those guys are way better opposition than a Henry Brussels or even a Toro Gotti or even a Jamarcus Chop Chop Corley. Yes, Floyd called out Costa. Okay, he did call him out. But the fact is the fight didn't happen. All right? And he was busy fighting WBC title eliminators just to go after one guy, which is a Toro Gotti, who's a very, very vulnerable champion. Okay, very weak champion. A guy whose greatest win on his record is against Mickey Ward in a way over the hill Jesse James layoff, the same guy that Shane Mosley beat years ago. All right? Then after 140, he didn't even defend that title. Okay? Guess who was at 140 there too? Vivian Harris, Lavender Johnston. All right? I can go on and on and there, on and on and on there. All right? Then he goes up to 147. He fights Zab Judah. All right? Well, let's, I know Floyd was quoting saying that he would be ashamed of himself if he had fought a guy coming off a loss for a world title. Well, he fought Zab Judah coming off a loss, which was an embarrassing loss to Zab, all right? He lost to Carlos Baldomir, all right? Yes, Floyd had a tough time in that fight against Judah, all right? Which he was knocked down by Judah, by the way, but it was ruled a slip by Richard Steele, which I don't understand why, but it is what it is, okay? Then he moves up. Then he beats Judah. He was in line to fight Antonio Margarito. Now, let me give you some insights on that. Margarito was a WBO champion, all right? Yes, the WBO championship at the time somewhat less regarded, but it was gaining recognition until 2007, a year later, a year later from 2006, okay? Now, Floyd declined to fight for $8 million, right? He cited that, he was going to go for Carlos Baldomir, which was going to be more money for him, right? So his manager, Leonard Ellaby, said, quote, that we're not ducking we're not ducking Margarito. We just want Floyd, to get rest because they cited a hand injury or something like that after he rejected the fight, right? So if they said we're going to go after Antonio Margarito once Floyd's ready, but they didn't go after Margarito. Who do they fight next? Carlos Baldomir, a very, very weak champion, a guy who beats Judah in a fluke fashion, and then had a terrible, terrible defense against Toro Gotti, okay? A very over-the-hill Toro Gotti, all right? That was his only defense, and then he loses the title to Mayweather, okay? Now after Mayweather beats Baltimore, he didn't defend that title. He fights Oscar De La Hoya, who, in my opinion, I didn't think he even deserved a shot against De La Hoya, but Oscar gave it to him. Okay? Yes, it was not a great fight. Yes, it did turn out to get some energy at the end. Guess Floyd came out to be the victor. All right? So he goes on. He didn't defend that 154 title. Then he fights Ricky Hatton, a guy who had to come up in weight, which is a good win. I'll give Floyd credit for that. Then he retires. Why did he retire? There was plenty of welterweights there waiting for him, including Margarito, a prime Miguel Cotto, Paul Williams, Joshua Clottey. I mean, a lot of fighters there waiting for him. Yes, even he called out Winky Wright. Winky Wright, a guy who was fighting at 160 who beat Felix Trinidad. Guess what happened? Winky accepted the challenge, right? So after Winky accepted the challenge, Floyd's challenge, Floyd comes out with all these ridiculous demands. He comes in with the same day weight clauses. He comes in with the rehydration clauses that where Winky cannot weigh no more than 8 pounds after the same day weigh-in and whatnot, and the split had to be 50-50. Winky agreed to all those demands. Okay? As soon as Winky agrees to all those demands, he comes out of nowhere in the in the direction of Bob Arum, tried to change the purse split subsequently, which killed the fight. Now, if you're going to price yourself out like that, that is a duck. There's no other way to describe it, okay? Now, back to Holyfield now. You want to discredit Michael Moore, okay? Well, Michael Moore was a great light heavyweight champion, okay? He passed cruiserweight to go up to heavyweight, okay? Michael Moore is he beat Francis Ward-Botha, who was a former world champion, okay? Now, Michael Moore's opposition that he fought and beat was way better than than Jesus Chavez, Carlos Hernandez, Sosa, DeMarcus Choctaw, Corley, Toro Gotti, all those opponents combined. That Michael Moore's level opposition is way better. Now, you want to talk about George Foreman being over the hill at the time. Well, let me tell you something. George Foreman became a world champion 20 years later after he retired, after his first time capturing the title. Okay? This is the same George Foreman who gave Tommy Morrison problems. Okay? Tommy Morrison was a much heavier puncher than Evander Holyfield. Much better puncher. And he was pressuring Morrison. Morrison hit Foreman with all he can handle, bombs left and right, and couldn't knock him out or couldn't knock him down. Yes, Morrison won the fight, but I don't understand why doesn't he get ridiculed opposed to Holyfield. Ray Mercer, a former world champion, he took Larry Holmes to the distance. Okay? Now let me go back to Buster Douglas for a second. Buster Douglas beat Oliver McCall, the same Oliver McCall who knocked out Lennox Lewis. The same Oliver McCall who fought Larry Holmes and couldn't knock him out. Oliver McCall is a much heavier puncher than Holyfield. All right? So you're saying that Holyfield beat Buster Douglas, a guy who outweighed him by 40 pounds, who had the reach advantage, had the height advantage, of course the size advantage over Holyfield, a career cruiserweight, who outweighed him by 40 pounds, took his undisputed title, then fought George Foreman, who outweighed him by 59 pounds, okay, and beat him. Beat Larry Holmes, and you want to talk about Nikolai Volkov. Well, first of all, Evander beat Nikolai Volkov, even though it was unofficial. He was beating Volkov in a much better fashion than David Haye. Okay, much better fashion. Of course, he got robbed on the courts, which you admitted that you didn't see the fight. So I suggest you look at that so then you see what I'm talking about here. Okay? So with that said, I'm going to go back to Evander's career for a second. He became undisputed champion after his 18th pro fight when he became the linear champion at the time. 16th pro fight, I'm sorry. Then he's the only fighter that captured the undisputed and cruiserweight titles. 4-time unified champion. Floyd only became a unified champion twice. 17 world champions, 4 at cruiserweight, 13 at heavyweight.
Time.
Okay.
Time. All right, that was a hell of a round by you too, Dan. We're done with the first one. Now we about to go into the second one. Now, Eternal, bring in the heat, and let's get this debate going. Eternal?
Unmute your mic, man.
I'm about to unmute your mic, Eternal. All right. I'm about to unmute your mic right now. Sorry, folks. We having technical difficulties. We're going to get this fixed real quick. I'm trying to unmute Eternal's mic. Eternal, you're going to have to unmute your own mic, man. Click on the screen and click unmute. Still can't hear him because he's still muted. Eternal, how about you exit out and come log back in real quick?
Am I
All
good?
right, there we go.
Hold on. Now let me get all my stuff ready because I have to close my stuff down before I start. Give me 1 second. All right, let me know when you're ready for me to go. Can you hear me?
Go now.
All right, I just want to thrash the first point that he tried to make. He said that none of Mayweather's opponents are as good as Mike Tyson, and that's laughable. Does he know who Oscar De La Hoya is? 6th division champion who reigned all the way up from super featherweight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Beat Julio Cesar Chavez, Pernell Whitaker, Hector Camacho, Julio Cesar Chavez again. I mean, what is he talking about? Arturo Gatti, Hall of Famer. Fernando Vargas. I mean, is he serious? Nobody on Mayweather's resume is as good as Mike Tyson. Did Oscar De La Hoya ever lose to a 44-1 underdog? I don't think so. Now, let's go through Mayweather's resume. And we're going to start off with his first title fight. And this was a lineal championship. And he won it at the age of 21, while Holyfield won his at the age of 23. Now, Gennaro Hernandez was undefeated in his division with 11 title fights. WBC, WBA title fights. And he was even younger than Kwawi was. And then he beats the second-ranked super featherweight, Angel Manfredi, Carlos Rios. These are just standard defenses. Justin Juco was a replacement. Carlos Grania, Vargas, and then he beat an undefeated Diego Corrales, who's a multi-division champion. I think he was, 33 wins with 30 KOs. And he wants to talk about Jesus Chavez, but Jesus Chavez is a multi-division champion, right? And he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lineal defenses in a row. And then he moves up in weight, and beats Jose Luis Castillo twice. Now, I think he won this fight. So there you go. But understand something. Mayweather is undefeated in rematches. Right? What happened? What happened when he fought Riddick Bowe? Lost the first fight, rematch, and then got knocked the fuck out. Mayweather's undefeated in rematches, and Jose Luis Castillo had like a 82% KO ratio, right? And boring is subjective, right? And anytime you move up in weight and go right to the man in the division and beat the man in the division, that's always a good thing. And Philip Ndu was like 31 wins with 30 knockouts and 1 loss. And he was ranked number 4 at lightweight, right? And then he moves up another division. This is 3 divisions, right? And he beats Arturo Gatti. And he moved up into the division to fight Costa Tszyu, right? And Arturo Gatti. And he got an eliminator. And DeMarcus Corley's still an ex-champion, so I don't know what you're talking about. And Henry Brussels, and then beat Arturo Gatti. But understand what Mayweather did here, right? Everybody tries to shit on this part of Mayweather's career, but they don't even understand what Mayweather was trying to do here. Zab Judah was the undisputed champion, right? He had knocked out Corey Spinks. And Mayweather decided, after Costa Tszyu lost, to move up another division, right? And to fight Zab Judah. So he gets an in-between fight with Mitchell, and Zab Judah loses, but he still beats the 2 best welterweights at the time, right? And you want to shit on Carlos Baldomir. Carlos Baldomir come in the fucking ring at like 165. Fucking massive, right? And, you know, then you want to shit on this part of Mayweather's career. He wins the WBC, IBF, ring, and lineal welterweight titles. And you want to talk about 4-time heavyweight champion, right? For Evander Holyfield. Well, he's only a 4-time heavyweight champion because he kept on getting his ass kicked, right? And Mayweather is a 2-time welterweight champion and a 2-time light middleweight champion, right? And he's also a super featherweight and lightweight champion, right? So you want to talk about 4-time heavyweight champion, that's something to think about there. And he goes up in weight and fights a 6th division champion. Oscar De La Hoya had 24 wins in title fights with 4 losses when Mayweather came into that fight. People thought he was undefeated in his division at light middleweight, right? They thought he got robbed by Shane Mosley. And then he beats an undefeated Ricky Hatton. And then he talks about retiring, like, oh, he retired because of this. Maybe he just felt like fucking retiring. Mayweather was talking about retiring all the way back from before Carlos Baldomir, right? He had already moved up 5 weight divisions already. He was tired of boxing. That's before. And let's talk about fucking Margarito for a minute, right? Margarito was not the lineal welterweight champion at the time. Carlos Baldomir was, right? He had the shitty WBO belt. And the reason he didn't fight him is because he got his fucking ass kicked by Paul Williams. When Margarito confronted Mayweather, Mayweather was fighting Oscar De La Hoya, who is fucking 10 times better than shitty Margarito, right? And when he confronted him, this is the fucking irony of people who hate on Mayweather. When he confronted him, he gets his fucking ass kicked by Paul Williams. And that's just something to think about. And then Mayweather retires, takes a year in like 9 months layoff and comes back and fights Juan Manuel Marquez. Now understand why Mayweather came out of retirement. Why do you think he fought fucking Juan Manuel Marquez? Because there was a little man running around named Manny Pacquiao who just started coming into the welterweight division. And that's why Mayweather came out of retirement. So he comes out of retirement, and you want to talk about fucking fighters better than Mike Tyson. Do you know who the fuck Manny Pacquiao is? 8 division champion? Do you think Mike Tyson could even touch that? Fuck no. And Juan Manuel Marquez, multi-division champion. Fucking couldn't even win a round against Mayweather, right? And Mayweather has the best plus minus in the sport. The reason why they call Evander Holyfield a warrior, because he was a fucking punching bag. And he was getting hit in the face repeatedly, right? Unlike Floyd Mayweather. And after he beats Juan Manuel Marquez, he fights Shane Mosley, right? For the lineal welterweight title. Right? And everyone wants to hate on this fight, but was he 42 years old? I don't think so. And he fights him for the lineal welterweight title. And what Mayweather did right here is fucking 10 times better than undisputed champion, right? Mayweather comes out of retirement. He wins the lineal welterweight title. Then he wins the WBC welterweight title from Victor Ortiz. Then he moves up in weight and beats Miguel Cotto, the guy who fucking everybody says Mayweather ducks, who was a fucking champion at the time, coming off of one of his biggest wins over Margarito. Moved up in weight, schooled his ass, right? And then he beat, pound for pound, number 9, Robert Guerrero. And he won the ring welterweight titles. How many Ring Magazine titles does Holyfield have? I think Mayweather's got like, what, 4 or 5? And he beats Robert Guerrero, and then he moves up in weight again and beats Saul Alvarez, undefeated Saul Canelo Alvarez. You want to talk about weak opposition? What the fuck are you smoking? And he wins the WBC lineal and ring light middleweight titles. Then he goes down and defends, and then he goes down and beats Marcos Maidana for the WBA super welterweight title, and beats him again. And then he beats Manny Pacquiao, who is just as good, if not better, than anybody on Holyfield's resume. Did he beat? Right? Did he beat Lennox Lewis? Fuck no. Got his ass kicked twice by him. What about Riddick Bowe? And the only reason Riddick Bowe is a fucking Hall of Famer is because he beat Holyfield's ass twice. Because he doesn't have a Hall of Fame resume without beating Holyfield, right? What about John Ruiz? Did Mayweather ever lose to a fighter of the caliber of John Ruiz? Fuck no. And let's see here. Let me pull up my notes here. 15 years, lineal champion. 15 years on the pound-for-pound list for Floyd Mayweather. And let's see, how many titles did he win here? In 2 divisions while defending. He won the WBO welterweight title. And, you know, people want to talk about undisputed. And he won WBC, WBA, ring, magazine, lineal welterweight titles while holding the WBA super light middleweight title and while holding the WBC ring magazine lineal light middleweight titles. So that's just one part of Mayweather's career, right? 4-time heavyweight champion because he got his ass beat many times. That's why he's a 4-time heavyweight champion. And the cruiserweight division is the fucking weakest division out there. It always has been. And it's a new division. That's the reason why when he won the title against Carlos De Leon, he didn't fight great fighters. That's why he's not a Hall of Famer. Simple. He doesn't have a Hall of Fame resume. And, you know, that's why it's not a great win. And it is a good win for him. But overall, 5 divisions without a loss, 8 defenses at super featherweight, and he's a 2-time welterweight champion and a 2-time light middleweight champion, all without a loss. And you want to talk about names. Mayweather's resume is fucking stacked. Saul Canelo Alvarez, Miguel Cotto, Shane Mosley, Juan Manuel Marquez, Ricky Hatton, Oscar De La Hoya, Zab Judah, even Arturo Gatti, Manny Pacquiao, you know. And like I said, Marcos Maidana is the John Ruiz, right? That Holyfield lost to, because he's that kind of caliber of fighter, right? And
time. 15 minutes are up. That was some heat right there. You gave Eternal. Now we about to give it to Dantheman.
All right. First things first. My opponent pointed out he pretty much admitted and pretty much gives Floyd a pass for ducking the Margarito fight to fight Carlos Baldomir. All right, let me touch up on that a little bit. First of all, the fight between Margarito and Floyd was set up after Floyd defeated Judah. Okay, they were about ready to go. Aaron was going to set that up. Floyd turned it down for $8 million, which would have been his biggest payday of his career, right? When he was asked about why he didn't take the Margarito fight on a radio interview with R.A. the Rugged Man, Floyd stated that the reason why he didn't take that fight because he was going to get more money for fighting Carlos Baldomir, which was $12 million. But guess what? It was a lie. He got $8 million to fight Baldomir, which was the same amount of money he would have got from Margarito. He and his team knew that Baldomir was a very vulnerable guy, a terrible, terrible fighter, no skill whatsoever, throwing wide shots and slow puncher. I mean, terrible fighter, terrible footwork. I can go on and on and on. All right, again, as I mentioned, who had one defense against a terrible shot at Arturo Gatti, whose greatest win on his record is against Mickey Ward and way over the hill Jesse James Leha. Okay? Now, you want to cite that Holyfield, lost to Riddick Bowe in the 3rd fight, okay? Yes, he had some hard problems then, but you have to understand that Holyfield didn't duck anybody, okay? He fought everyone that was there to fight. He fought guys that was he fought guys past his prime that was in their prime, okay? He did that. Win, lose, or draw, and that's why he always gets respect. Now, why you want to know why Floyd doesn't get that much respect even though he's undefeated? Let me go down the list of fighters he could have fought. Paul Williams. Let me get to that for a second. That's the reason why Paul Williams and the Tony Margarito fight got made, because Margarito couldn't get the fight with Floyd. So that's the reason why that fight couldn't get made. Paul Spadafora, as I mentioned. Winky Wright, which he ducked. Okay? Cornelius K9 Bundrich, who called out Floyd. Floyd dismissed him. Okay? Corey Spinks, that fight was going to be made, but Floyd backed out of that. Stevie Forbes, Arthur Gregorian, Derek Gainer, all at super featherweight. Vivian Harris at super lightweight. Joshua Clottey, Costa Zoo, Acelino Freitas, who actually won the fight with Floyd. Stevie Johnson, Joel Casamayor, Timothy Bradley, who deserved a shot more than anybody. Sean Porter, Sergio Martinez at a catchweight wanted to fight Floyd. Floyd turned that down. Kell Brook, Jamel Charlo, and Gennady Golovkin, who wanted to fight Floyd but turned it down. And yet, he also voided his mandatories, Amir Khan, Keith Thurman, and Islam Lara. Now, you say that he's a greater fighter than Holyfield. Explain why on these lists of fighters that he didn't fight them. Okay, they were available. These were very good fighters at the top of the division, but Floyd didn't fight them. You know what he said? He said that I'm not going to take risks like that. Okay, I'm probably paraphrasing, but this is pretty much what he said. He said that I'm not going to take risks. I'm smart when it comes to choosing my opponents, and that's exactly what he did in his entire career. He padded his record. He fought guys. You want to bring up Oscar De La Hoya and Shane Mosley? Those guys were past their prime when Floyd fought them. Way past their prime. Oscar De La Hoya went through wars with Ike Corte. He went through wars with Fernando Vargas. He went through a very tough fight with Pernell Whitaker, which I felt that he lost that fight. He fought Felix Trinidad, okay? He fought a Bernard Hopkins at 160 who was, running through everybody at middleweight. Okay, I can go on and on. He fought a lot of tough opponents before the heavyweight. Before the Floyd fight. Okay, so again, if you want to talk about Evander, shit on Evander for losing his fights, the reason why he lost fights is because he took on tough opponents in one division. Evander couldn't move up and down and weight to avoid fights like Floyd did. That would explain the reason why he only took 3 fights at super lightweight, and only 4 fights at lightweight. Okay. And then after that, he only had 2 fights at welterweight, then got a shot at Oscar De La Hoya, then moved back down to fight Hatton, who had to come up to 140 to fight Floyd. That was only 3 welterweight fights, and then he subsequently retires. Okay? Then if he claims that you claim that he retired because he was stating this for a while now, then explain to me why did he come back and fight a career lightweight? I'm sorry, not career lightweight, a career super featherweight Juan Manuel Marquez. Okay, there were other fighters he could have fought. He could have fought Manny Pacquiao when he was available, but he chose not to fight him at that time. Okay, so you want to talk about Dwight Muhammad Qawi. Dwight Muhammad Qawi is a multiple weight champion. He's one of the greatest light heavyweight champions of all time, and a great cruiserweight champion. Carlos De Leon is a 4-time cruiserweight champion. Okay. I'm pretty sure you haven't seen none of Carlos De Leon fights or Dwight Muhammad Qawi's fights. I suggest you take a look at them, okay? Qawi is in the Hall of Fame, no question about it, but De Leon deserves to get in there, okay? Yes, the cruiserweight division is not a popular division, but Evander did a lot. He cleaned out the division, okay? He became a linear champion in his 16th pro fight, and Floyd didn't become linear champion until his 18th pro fight, okay? So let's get that out of the bag, all right? So with that said, Floyd didn't even clean out one division. He never attempted to do it, all right? He didn't not only clean out the division, he never became an undisputed champion. He only fought 2 career rematches, one against Castillo, other against Maidana. Oh, Maidana. You want to equate Marcos Maidana to John Ruiz? First of all, Maidana has very terrible foot technique, okay? His punch coordination is terrible. Ruiz can box, okay? He can box, and he has good punch technique, and he can move for a big man. All right, so Ruiz is a much better fighter than Marcos Maidana. Marcos Maidana's greatest win on his record is against Adrian Broner. Okay, Adrian Broner, who's a very overhyped fighter. Maidana already got the shit beat out of him by Devin Alexander. All right, the same guy that Devin Alexander that Floyd didn't want to fight. All right, then he got beat by Acelino Freitas. So before that, not Acelino Freitas. He got beat by Andre Kotelnik, and then he got beat by Amir Khan in a very close fight. All right, so where on Floyd Mayweather's resume has the attributes of a Riddick Bowe and Mike Tyson? There isn't none. Who on Floyd's resumes has the attributes of Larry Holmes and George Foreman? Not one. Okay? Floyd hasn't fought a dominant champion. You want to talk about Manny Pacquiao and Mike Tyson? Manny Pacquiao didn't dominate the division like Mike Tyson. Manny Pacquiao never cleaned out a division. He never became an undisputed champion in any division he fought. Okay? Of course, Mike Tyson became an undisputed champion in one division because he's a heavyweight. Heavyweights can't move up and down in weight. Pacquiao was a very small flyweight, and he had the option to move up. He can grow his body then. Mike Tyson couldn't do that. I mean, yes, he can grow, but you can't move in and out of in the heavyweight division. You can't move it up and down in one division. You can't do that. Okay? So let's get that out of the bag. And another thing about this multi-weights and all that stuff, Floyd becoming champion in 5 different weight classes, all that. I know you mentioned that. All right, first things first. You know the difference between the weight classes that Floyd moved up when he became champion? It's 5 to 7 pounds, all right? Yes, he moved up to 154, and he beat Oscar De La Hoya, who outweighed him by, fight weight, I think about 12 pounds, right? Now, explain to me, how is that better than Holyfield, who became an undisputed champion against a man who outweighed him by 45 pounds, became a unified champion again when he defeated Riddick Bowe, who outweighed him by 45 pounds, okay? Defeated George Foreman, who struck fear in the division in his time before the Ali fight, who wiped out Joe Frazier, Hall of Famer, Ken Norton, the Hall of Fame, wiped him out. George Foreman, who outweighed him by 59 pounds. Now, explain to me how is Floyd moving up in weight and fighting a guy who outweighed him by 13 or 12 pounds better than Holyfield, a man who outweighed him by, Holyfield fighting guys that outweighs him by 50, 30, or 35 pounds. How's that better? All right, I'll move along. Canelo Alvarez. Let me tell you something about Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez's greatest win on his record before the Floyd fight was against Austin Trout. Now, no disrespect to Austin Trout. Austin Trout is not a great fighter, okay? Let's get that out of the bag. Before that, he fought and beat a, like again, Carlos Baldomir, who you want to give Floyd credit for. Carlos Baldomir. Okay, now Canelo Alvarez cannot move his feet to save his life. He has good punch coordination, but he cannot cut off the ring, and he's incredibly slow sometimes when it comes to throwing punches. So let's not get that twisted. Riddick Bowe was a much better fighter than Canelo Alvarez. Okay, Shane Mosley. Yes, Shane Mosley. Yes, a good, Shane Mosley, he had a better career lightweight. Okay, first of all, Shane Mosley fought tougher opponents than Floyd. Okay, he took on Winky Wright, who was clearly the bigger man. Yes, he lost to two tough fights against Winky Wright, but those fights right there really, really took a lot of shame. Then he had, obviously before that, he had Oscar De La Hoya in two great fights. Then before that, he had two great fights against Fernand Forrest, who was the first man to beat him. Okay, now back to Riddick Bowe. Riddick Bowe only lost on his record against Evander Holyfield. Credit to Holyfield, the only man to beat him. Okay. Floyd, on the other hand, let me go break down Floyd's career for a minute. Floyd has no trilogy on his records, none whatsoever. No memorable fights that you can rank on an all-time list. Holyfield's got 4 or 5 fights that you can rank on the all-time greats list. Okay, not one memorable round. He's fought 8 opponents with losing records. If Holyfield only fought 4 opponents with losing records. Okay, now that would explain why his his opponents' win-loss record is terrible compared to Floyd, Evander Holyfield. Compared to that, okay. And also another thing, you want to talk about Ray Mercer, okay? First of all, Ray Mercer was a heavy puncher, okay? This is the same Ray Mercer who knocked out a prime Tommy Morrison, okay? Ray Mercer was an underdog in that fight, okay? This is the same Tommy Morrison who beat George Foreman, who was in the 1993. Yeah, like I mentioned in my earlier response, who can even knock out George Foreman, okay? So you want to shit on Foreman. Foreman became the oldest undisputed champ when he beat Michael Moore, okay? So you can't name one guy on Floyd's resume that who was dominant, feared like Tyson, who had the attributes, strength, and speed and punch coordination like Riddick Bowe. All-time greats like George Foreman and Larry Holmes. Okay, and this is the same Evander Holyfield who fought 2 trilogies against Bo Ruiz. By the way, that trilogy with Bo is one of the greatest trilogies of all time. Okay, probably ranked in the top 3 or top 5. He had fought in 6 total rematches. Defeated 5 Hall of Famers: Dwight Muhammad Qawi, George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Riddick Bowe, and Mike Tyson. Okay, Floyd only has 3 on his resume out of 49 pro fights. 3. Okay. Again, I was interrupted earlier. He defeated 17 world champions, as I mentioned, and then 13 in the heavyweight. That's in one division. It took Floyd 5 divisions to beat 23 world champions. 22, 20, whatever the number is. It took him 5 divisions to do that. 5. Okay. Defeated 6 unified champions, and Floyd only defeated 2. Defeated 4 undisputed, and Floyd only defeated 1. That was it. Okay? Again, you can use the weight argument all you want to, but the fact is, Holyfield beat guys who outweighed him way more in astronomical situations than Floyd Mayweather. Okay? Floyd's only been outweighed probably, maybe 3 times in his career, maybe 4, if that.
Is that it?
Totally inexcusable. That Holyfield got his ass beat. Yeah, he got his ass beat because he fought guys in their prime and he was wanting to fight himself for greatness. Floyd didn't do that. He didn't want to do that. He managed his career safely. He made as much money as he can, more than anybody. Credit to him for that. But yet, that didn't earn him the reputation as an all-time great fighter. That earned him more ridicule as a guy who forever ducked his opponents, who came up with many excuses why he ducked many fights, especially his mandatories. Okay. You're talking about, well, these mandatories don't bring enough money to the table, whatnot. Well, explain the Robert Guerrero fight because they didn't make much money in that fight. Okay, so with that said, he even quoted saying that I'm in it for the business. I'm in it to make money, not for legacy. That's what Floyd said. That's not what I said. That's what he said. Okay, to me, in my book, that is not a definition of a great fighter.
Is that all you got to say, man?
Was it question and answer?
Dan. I think we lost Dan. I think his connection is bad now. But anyways, folks, I think Dan.
come back in.
Yeah, I see he's here, but I don't hear him speaking. Okay, he says he's coming back on. Sorry for the delay, folks. Woo, both of y'all bringing heat, though.
Mm-hmm.
Sarno, you brought up some good points, especially about the Margarito and the multi-weight divisions. Dan is making good points as far as Holyfield, who he has fought, and where it comes to legends and the caliber of the opponents. I mean, this final round will decide who.
Yeah, it's been a good debate.
Yeah,
I'm gonna enjoy the Q&A.
yeah. This final round is going to choose who's going to win this.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah. Give us. I think both of y'all need to get a glass of water right now because this
I'm
is.
gonna get something to drink, and I'll wait on him.
All right. Sorry about this. Anyways, Evander Holyfield, great champion, great for his era, one of the top 2 heavyweights of his time. Floyd Mayweather, great champ, great fighter, one of the best fighters in the last 20, 30 years. Top 2, number 1 in his time. So, whew, both of these guys just going to have to bring more heat. Oh, Dan lost his link. I'm going to have to resend it to him. Sorry, folks. This is what happens sometimes with Google Hangout.
I knew it was gonna be a tough debate because Evander Holyfield, boy, he's got that resume.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Oh, God. Where is Dan right now? Let's see. Oh. This is getting annoying.
I think I just heard it.
All right. Now, let me say something to both of you guys. Both of you guys are bringing the heat, right? But this final round is going to decide who's the winner. So when I say get it on, remember, no racial undertones, no low blows to one another. Now, you can talk shit about one another's fighters. But,
no, it's all good.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, this will decide who's the winner. This is the truth round. This is where there's no rehearsing. Y'all just got to go at one another's necks, just like how Holyfield would and how Mayweather would counterpunch. So this is the debate of debates, man. Bring the heat. So let's get it on.
Arr. Who's got first question?
All right, first question to you, man. Now, as I mentioned, what's the weight difference between 135 to 130, 135, 140, 147, and 154? What's the weight difference between the weight classes?
135 to 154?
No, 130 to 154. What's the weight difference?
24 pounds.
Okay, that's a total of 24 pounds. Now, explain to me. Now, Oscar De La Hoya? How much did he outweigh Floyd Mayweather by in their fight?
Oscar De La Hoya came in about probably 170. Mayweather probably about 152. So probably about 18 pounds. Maybe even more. Maybe even more for De La Hoya. He came in big that fight. He's at least 16 pounds.
Well, he came in around 166, okay? Now, explain to me, how is that better than Evander Holyfield, who knocked out a man who outweighed him by 40 pounds to capture the undisputed title, and defeated another man who outweighed him by 39 pounds to capture the unified titles? How's that better?
Yeah, that's simple, because in the lower weight classes, weight matters more than it does in the heavyweight division, right? And it's always been like that. That's why fighters in the lower weight classes fight for pounds and try to rehydrate and blow up to get advantages, because weight matters more in the lower weight division. It's just that simple.
Right. So basically, you're citing rehydration clauses and weight advantages and gaps, whatnot, in those weight classes, right? So do you understand that at the heavyweights, there is no rehydration clauses? You can't use the excuse that this guy outweighs me by 4 or 5 pounds. I'm not going to fight him unless he comes down or goes up in weight. Do you understand that's of more significance than a guy who could have moved up and down in weight whenever he wanted to avoid fights, which he did? Okay. Now let me talk about Riddick Bowe for a second. Riddick Bowe had all the attributes in their first fight. He outgunned Holyfield not only by height advantages, he had outgunned him by weight, as we're talking about, speed advantages, and reach advantage, okay? Even though he fought Holyfield maliciously, Evander couldn't outbox Riddick Bowe. He wasn't going to outbox him, so he had to take the fight to him. Even though in the losing effort, he gained respect because he fought with heart, okay? Now, when in Floyd Mayweather situation that he's ever faced adversity like that? Can you name one?
Yeah, when he fought Oscar De La Hoya.
Did Oscar De La Hoya pressure Holyfield like Riddick Bowe? Mayweather like Bowe did Holyfield?
He pressured him the whole fight, came at him the whole fight, and outweighed him significantly. And I already answered that weight matters.
Did he bust him up? Did he beat him? Yeah, I didn't let you finish your answer, but did he beat him badly? That's what I'm asking you. Did he beat him badly?
See, the thing is, they can't bust Mayweather up because his defense is phenomenal. Right?
Okay.
And it's harder for Mayweather, weighing 150 pounds, fighting someone 170 pounds, to bust them up. It's different in the heavyweight division. You have to understand weight dynamics, right? Simple. Heavyweight division, once you get bigger in the heavyweight division, I already explained this earlier. The bigger you get, the more awkward you get. And you said that Riddick Bowe was slower than Evander Holyfield, and that's just simply false. Holyfield is the fastest.
No, I didn't say that. Fighter. No, he was not slower than Holyfield. I said he was faster than Holyfield. I said that.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was faster than Holyfield. Did you look at his first fight? Did you look at the first fight?
I've watched all of them.
He was faster than Holyfield.
He beat his ass in the first fight.
Exactly, because he was faster than him. Evander couldn't outbox Bowe, so he had to take the fight to him. He had to make the fight. He had to turn it into a big brawl.
Ask a question.
Go ahead, ask the question.
Now, this is going to be a two-part question. Now,
okay.
If Mayweather's resume is so weak, why does his opponents have 175 title fight wins and Evander Holyfield only have 100? Now, answer that question, and it's going to be a two-part question. Go ahead.
Simple, because he moved up in weight. He could move up in five different weight classes. Evander fought him too.
He moved up in weight.
Exactly.
That's why his fighters have more title wins. That doesn't make any sense. I'm asking you, if his resume is so weak, no. If his resume is so weak, why does his opponents have more title fight wins, 75 more title fight wins than Evander Holyfield?
Well, simple, because his opponents moved up in weight as well. Oscar De La Hoya moved up in weight. He moved up 6 weight classes to capture world titles. Manny Pacquiao moved up 8 different weight classes to capture titles. So did Zab Judah.
And isn't that what makes them great? And isn't that what makes them great fighters?
No, well, that's not the point.
Winning those titles?
Yeah, you can challenge yourself. You can challenge yourself moving up in weight. But the difference is, Evander fought guys outweighed him by 40 pounds. So the reason why I asked that question is because the weight gap between the 130 and 154 is only 24 pounds, while Evander fought guys that outweighed him by 50, 60, 70 pounds.
All right.
So you know there's a big weight disparity right there. There's a big weight disparity right there, number one. Okay?
I already answered the weight disparity in heavyweight and heavyweight dynamics. Already answered heavyweight dynamics. Now, here's my second part to the question. Okay. If Riddick Bowe and George Foreman is so phenomenal, right, compared to people on Mayweather's resume, why does George Foreman only have 5 world title fight wins? Riddick Bowe only have 5 world title fight wins, and people like Saul Alvarez have 8, Manny Pacquiao has 18, Miguel Cotto has 19, Marquez has 14, Oscar De La Hoya has 24, Zab Judah has 10, Castillo has 6. Why, if they are so great, Hernandez has 12? Why, if they are so great, do they only have so few title fights?
Because they have fought in one weight class. These other guys fought in multiple weight classes that had so many title fights. Okay? They fought in one weight class, okay? If they had a choice to move up and down in weight, of course they could achieve that feat.
Does that
They could do
therefore
that. That's simple. It's
title?
easy.
No, you're not. You don't understand the question.
That is the point.
Larry
Yes.
Holmes.
Okay, hold on. First of all, let me answer that question. I'm answering the question. Yes, they have fewer title fights because they fought opposition which they could not avoid in one weight class. They fought prime after opponent, prime opponent after prime opponent after prime opponent. These guys had so many voluntary defenses when they were moving up and down in weight when they were defending those titles. They did that. Okay, that's a difference right there. These guys didn't have.
Let me ask
But
you
heavyweights.
that.
Okay.
How come Larry Holmes then has 20 title fight wins? And he's a great fighter. George Foreman only has 5, Riddick Bowe only has 5, and Larry Holmes has 20, and he fought in one division. And how come he can get that many title fight wins? How come someone like Evander Holyfield can get 16 world title fight wins? But these people that you're claiming are so much better than the people on Mayweather's resume, like George Foreman and Riddick Bowe. Buster Douglas only has 1 title fight win. George Foreman only has 5. Riddick Bowe only has 5. Michael Dokes only has 1. You know, if they are so great, how come they only have so few title fight wins?
Simple. Because first of all, George Foreman took a 10-year decade layoff after his first fight against Jimmy Young. Okay, the fight that Jimmy Young beat him in. Yes. Okay. See, you understand? George Foreman retired in 1 decade. Of course, he couldn't get that many title fights. He was gone for 10 years. Then he came back. Okay. Hold on. Okay. George Foreman, on the other hand, wiped out 2 Hall of Famers, guys who are light years better than any of the Floyd Mayweather opponents that fought. Miguel Cotto. Okay, let's talk about Miguel Cotto for a second. His greatest win on his record before he fought Floyd was Shane Mosley. Okay. Before that, he fought Ricardo Torres, which you probably don't know who. Chop Corley and Joshua Clottey. Okay, that was it. And Yuri Foreman, who was one of the worst paper champions we ever seen. Okay, and you want to talk about Marcos Maidana? Like I mentioned, his greatest win on his record is against a damn Adrian Broner. Oscar De La Hoya, yes, but you avoid the fact that the guys that Floyd fought, these opponents that you want to talk about greater than what the level of opposition that Holyfield fought, these guys were past their prime. Okay. You negate the fact that Floyd avoided all primary opposition
when these fighters are past their prime, it does not help his resume. 42-year-old fighter does not help his resume.
Okay, look. Okay, can you name 1 prime opposition that had the attributes of a Riddick Bowe on Floyd's resume? Can you name 1? There isn't none.
Hold on.
Okay, what about Mike Tyson? What about Mike Tyson?
What about an undefeated? What about?
Yeah, there's many fighters that retire undefeated, but they're not great.
Diego Corrales, he's got 7 title fight wins.
Yeah, no Corrales. So his was
because he beat Holyfield's ass. That's the only reason he's a Hall of Famer.
Who?
The only reason Riddick Bowe is a Hall of Famer is because he beat Holyfield's ass twice.
Yeah, right. Do you know who Herbie Hyde is?
He doesn't have a resume.
Okay, but you know who Herbie Hyde is? Do you know who he is?
No, I don't know.
Exactly. Okay, so if you want to talk about Riddick Bowe here, then
contender, right?
Obviously, if you don't know his career very well. Second of all, Floyd has not fought the adversity that Holyfield has fought. Yes, Holyfield lost some. You want to talk about undefeated? See, everybody's so fixated about the undefeated record, all that. Rocky Marciano was undefeated, okay? But he's not the greatest heavyweight of all time. He's not.
They will trash Rocky Marciano.
Hold on. You said that undefeated is great. I'm just pointing out.
Undefeated is great, and that's why Rocky Marciano is great. But Mayweather's undefeated in 5 weight classes.
Wait, Ali and Holmes.
Title fight.
So you're saying he's better than Ali and Holmes?
He is better than Holmes. Mayweather's better than Holmes. I'm not saying he's better than Ali.
You're saying that Rocky Marciano ain't undefeated.
Anyway, we're talking about Holyfield here.
No. I brought in a parallel. You answered part of the question. You're trying to avoid it. Now I'll just answer it, then we'll move on. Is he better than Ali and Holmes? Is that what you're saying?
He's better than Holmes.
No,
he's
okay.
Not better than Ali.
Okay. But you know who 7 Aki is? Okay, he was undefeated, but that doesn't make him greatest of all time. But the thing is, this undefeated
the greatest of all time. That's a straw man.
Undefeated don't mean jack if you haven't fought the best opposition to fight. Okay, Floyd didn't do that. He openly admitted that he wasn't going to take risks like other fighters did. He said himself that I'm not in it for legacy. I'm here to collect a check. I'm here for the business. That's exactly what he did. Okay, I've never seen a champion that acts so insecure where he refuses to fight outside of Vegas, chooses his own ring size, chooses his gloves, chooses his own judges and referees, injects his xylocaine in his hands, which is very illegal in most states. Okay, so how is that a question of a great fighter?
Look, you read stuff from Mayweather hating sites and you don't know what you're talking about. Mayweather
that is his quote. That is his quote.
My turn. Mayweather has never put xylocaine in his hand before a fight. Not one time. He did that during practice. Right? The Nevada State Athletic Commission will vouch for that. He has never put xylocaine in his hands before fights because you don't know what you're talking about. You get your information.
Yes, I do know what I'm talking about. You're not researching it.
No, I'm talking. You get your information from Mayweather hating sites. Like you talk about. You talk about him ducking Margarito. But was Margarito the lineal fucking champion at the time? No.
So you're saying it's okay for the duck Margarito fight Baltimore?
Why would you duck someone who's not the real champion in the world, in the division? You're going to fight the real champion in the division, not the shitty WBO champion. Okay?
Well,
Margarito. He got caught with fucking bricks in his glove and is a fucking punching bag that Mayweather would have beat.
Justice and Henry Russell. What do you call that?
That's a move into the fight.
Okay.
Right?
Now,
and let me just say this. If Mayweather fought such bad oppositions, I already brought up the 175 title fights that his opponents have won. If he fought, what do you really think that Gennaro Hernandez, undefeated Diego Corrales, Jose Luis Castillo twice, Arturo Gatti, Vladimir Judah, Oscar De La Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Juan Manuel Marquez, Shane Mosley, Victor Ortiz in his prime, Miguel Cotto, Manny Pacquiao, Robert Guerrero, Saul Alvarez, Marcos Maidana twice. What are you thinking? Do you really think this is not good opposition?
Well, first of all, you just admitted that Floyd didn't fight the prime opposition, okay?
No, I didn't, dude. You're like strawmanning the fuck out of me.
Yeah, no. Hold up.
When did I say that?
I'm gonna ask you this. First of all, Holyfield fought everybody that was there fighting in his area. All prime opponents. Floyd didn't do that. That's on record.
Mayweather is fighting in 5 divisions, dude. He doesn't have 100 fucking hands. He's not a fucking octopus, dude. You know, you can't fight everybody at once.
To be a great fighter, you have to have the heart and the willingness to take on opposition when people count you out. Okay?
What do you
Holyfield did that. Yes, he fought Tyson the first fight. Holyfield was a 25-1 underdog in the opening odds. Okay, many people didn't give him a chance to win that fight because he had a heart condition.
Tyson was a high job.
Wait, hold up. He was shot. Okay, so explain to me, when has Floyd Mayweather
beat his ass?
Has he ever been in a situation like that?
No, because he's better than his opposition. He's better than everybody. That's why.
Exactly.
He's got the best plus minus. Mayweather has the best plus minus in history. That's
exactly, because he padded his record.
He padded his record.
Dude, he padded his record. Floyd has admitted that he pads his records. Come on. You saying that's great?
I just record. I just displayed to you that with 170. And I just displayed to you his opposition. You think that Manny Pacquiao is padding his record? You think that Saul Canelo Alvarez, undefeated, is padding your record?
We got the Floyd fight.
Robert Guerrero is padding his record when he was number 9 on the pound-for-pound list?
Well, first of all, Robert Guerrero only had 2 fights at welterweight before he got the shot at Floyd, okay?
Yes,
he fought when he moved up in weight.
Moving up in weight, beating Miguel Cotto is padding your record?
Wait, who are you talking about Miguel Cotto? What are you talking about? Floyd beat Miguel Cotto? First of all, Miguel Cotto was not the same fighter after he got viciously knocked out by Antonio Margarito Manny Pacquiao.
Bullshit. That's what people like to say.
And why did he take a?
Did he not beat the shit out of fucking Margarito in the second fight?
Okay, yes, he won that fight. Congratulations to him. He won that fight, no doubt about that. But of course, you know Margarito have eye problems and all that. Of course, the damn hand wraps. We all know that. We can all agree on that.
This is the guy you want to fight Mayweather. This fucking punching bag that got caught with illegal hand wraps.
Fight with him, and I thought Floyd could beat him, but Floyd ran from the fight. He's
a fucking punching bag.
Well, he ducked the fight. Well, tell me, well, he fought Toro Gotti.
Because when Margarito confronted Mayweather, it was when Mayweather was fighting De La Hoya, and then he got his ass beat by Paul Williams. And Paul Williams said that Mayweather didn't duck it.
He turned down the fight in 2006 after he beat Judah. It's on record. It's on. I can give you the
fight the lineal champion.
Oh my God!
Lineal champion in the division.
To go after a vulnerable linear champion to avoid a guy who was in his prime, who was feared by everybody in the welterweights, who was knocking every.
Carlos Baldomir weighs like 165 pounds.
Huh? What'd you say?
Carlos Baldomir weighs like 165 pounds, dude.
He was on this. Okay, Floyd weighed in on 150.
When you beat someone like Zab Judah and you beat someone like Daddy, you are on world level.
That weighed about 59 pounds. At 40 pounds. So what's the point? What's the point? What are you trying to make at? Hello? Hello?
Did he just leave his couch?
I don't know.
I don't see no cigarette lighters.
Me either.
A string or. But I still see him on the hangout. Maybe he's getting some water. Y'all got about 14 more minutes. And then y'all's final argument. If he don't come in the next 3 minutes, I will count this as a forfeit. RTD and BoxRec standards.
Yeah, I mean, this is fun.
He left. He got 2 more minutes, and if he don't come back, this is a forfeit, folks. Will Eternal Boxing Gods come back, or will he be known as Roberto Duran against Sugar Ray Leonard 2? No mas.
Oh, he's coming back for that one?
2 more minutes. We're waiting on the Eternal. Can't say I. Let's see. All right. We got 1 more minute. 59, 58, 56, 55, 54, 53, 52, 51, 50, 49, 46, 45, 44, 43, 40, 34, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17. All right, he's back on. He's back from the count.
I'm sorry about that.
No worries, man.
All right, where were we at? Go ahead.
We get to closing arguments. Is that correct, Dilltown?
No, y'all got 10 more discussion. 10 more minutes.
Yeah, we were talking about where were we?
Man, bringing that heat.
Yep.
I appreciate the debate, man.
No problem, man. This is a good debate. We need it. You know what I'm saying? So I'll tell you what. Why don't you start off asking a question? I'll counter and then you counter back. Is that cool?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you ask a question. Ask a question and I'll answer. I'll counter back and you counter.
Give me 1 second. I'll get my question. Hold on.
No problem, man. Take your time.
I just gotta pull something up first. Let me see. Do you think what Mayweather did when he won the WBC, WBA, WBO, ring lineal welterweight titles, and also won the light middleweight, WBA super, WBC, and ring light middleweight titles is more impressive than just winning an undisputed championship?
To me, no, and let me tell you why. Now, doing the things that Floyd did, yeah, that looks impressive paper-wise, okay? But the fact is, if you become an undisputed champion and at the same time you cleaned out the division is very significant. Yes, Holyfield won when Douglas had all the belts, but he did it at cruiserweight. He cleaned out the cruiserweight division, okay? Then he moved up to fight, take on tougher challenges at heavyweight. All right, now what Floyd did, yes, it looks impressive, but the fact is that he didn't unify with anyone else. He rapidly moved up in weight after fighting at super featherweight. He only had 4 fights at lightweight where he could have fought Paul Spadafora, Arthur Gregorian, Stevie Johnston, Acelino Freires, and Joe Casamayor. They were all there waiting for him. Then he moved up, held 3 fights at welterweight. He took on the weakest champion, Arturo Gatti, who is a human punching bag by that matter. Took on him, didn't fight Vivian Harris, didn't fight Costa Tszyu, but he moved up, okay? And then he only had 2 fights at welterweight. He beat Zab Judah coming off a loss, all right? And then he fights Carlos Baldomir, all right? Then after the Baldomir fight, yeah, went up and fought De La Hoya, okay? Yes, it's impressive, but you got to look at what he had to do to get to that accomplishments, because he didn't fight the very best. He avoided many opposition during the time he moved up in weight.
Do you know this? Do you know that Costa Tszyu said in an interview that Mayweather ducked nobody? Did you know that Freitas said that Mayweather didn't duck him? Did you know that Paul Spadafora and Mayweather had a fight signed, but Paul Spadafora had a fight on the line, but Paul Spadafora ended up going to jail? Did you know that?
I knew that, but Paul Spadafora called Floyd out before that happened, okay? Costa Tszyu fought in one weight class. How could he say that he didn't duck nobody, okay? Tszyu only fought in one weight class, okay? Well, if he didn't get the Spadafora fight, fine. Then you had Acelino Freires there waiting for him. You had Joe Casamayor, Stevie Johnston, and Arthur Gregorian. They were there waiting.
None of these guys wanted to fight Floyd at the time, dude. You don't understand the time.
Yes, he did. I did not say that people did duck Floyd. There were a couple guys who did. I'll admit to that. But the fact is, those guys were waiting to fight him, but he moved up in weight real quickly to get a shot at Oscar De La Hoya. That was his intentions.
Yes,
okay?
But that's greater than fighting. What you don't understand is that's greater than fighting someone like a Freitas or a Spadafora or something like that. That is something, you're doing something greater.
Dangerous guys.
They were those guys aren't 6th division champions. They're not, they're not great like Oscar De La Hoya. So Mayweather's actually trying to do something greater. Like when he tried to fight Zab Judah. Zab Judah was the undisputed champion, and he tried to do something great, but Zab Judah lost, right? So Mayweather has always chased greatness. Like when Mayweather came out of retirement, he picked Juan Manuel Marquez and then gave Manny Pacquiao a contract for 50-50, which he didn't fucking sign.
Well, you know why? Because they're in that contract, Floyd wanted USADA drug testing and blood needles. Now, the blood needles, yes, I'll fault Manny for that. But the USADA thing, yes, we know why this USADA can't be trusted. They wanted VADA testing and Olympic-style drug testing. Floyd declined that. He didn't want that.
Is that because you believe Thomas Hauser's pseudo-fucking journalist?
Talking about the first contract. We can see why USADA. This is not the first time USADA's been under scrutiny. They've been under scrutiny way before this whole IV thing came about. Way before that.
True.
Okay. That is true.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Look at the Lance Armstrong situation. Look at the Eric Morales and Danny Garcia situation.
Dude, USADA busted Lance Armstrong. They are the ones who busted Lance Armstrong down.
Well, they busted him at a time that was so inconvenient. Okay, yes, they got him. Okay, but do you also have to look at the fact why they do it, the timing of it, why they wanted to arbitrate? Why did that make sense? Okay. Second of all, the Eric Morales situation. They knew Eric Morales was dirty. Okay. Then when they got caught, they the New York State Athletic Commission about it to let the fight.
The New York State Athletic Commission, and that's what they're supposed to do.
Guess what? The spokesman of the New York Athletic State Commission came out and said denied that. They said they never called us. What are they talking about?
That's
they never told us by Eric Morales. They didn't notify. They didn't notify the proper channels about it.
In fact, the whole argument from Thomas Hauser, they're arguing about one day, right? Did they inform him on the 18th or the 17th? That's what they're fucking arguing about. Like one day.
But you claim that you saw it as credible. They're not a credible agency, okay? That's the reason why Pacquiao in the beginning 6 years ago wanted to file a drug testing. Floyd turned it down. He didn't want that. He didn't want to
all the testing for our Olympics in the United States.
What?
And you're just going to say they just can't be trusted.
Well, look at their article. Besides Lance Armstrong.
They busted Lance Armstrong, bro.
I'm asking you, who did they bust besides Lance Armstrong? Who did they bust?
Dude, they've got lists of people they bust. I'm not a USADA expert, but I know they got lists of people they bust. They got them on their website.
Covered up test results for prominent athletes. They've been doing that for years. I haven't heard one person come out with an explanation about the $150 payment that the Mayweather camp gave to USADA. What was that all about?
$150 payment? Maybe that's how much it costs. The bigger the fight, the bigger the money.
Oh, the Peter Quillen and who was the guy he fought? Michael Safora, I think that was the guy he fought. Their drug testing for that fight cost, I think it was Gabe Rosado. Okay, that was the fight. That drug testing for that fight cost only $30,000 to $40,000. Explain that. Explain the $150 fee. That makes no sense whatsoever.
That's easy to explain. Maybe because they get a percentage. They do a percentage, or maybe the bigger the fight, the more money they get. I mean,
that's not part of their protocol because if you look at their books, their drug testings do cost between $30,000 and $40,000 depending on what you put in the drug testing procedures. Okay?
But what about Evan Fields?
An upfront fee of $150,000.
But what about Evan Fields?
You want to bring that up? Okay, first of all, let me tell you about that. Yes, it hasn't been. Yeah, let me tell you this. Every athlete is going to take something. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. It depends.
There you go. So you've already used your Holyfield user.
No. Here's the thing. Well, Floyd's definitely one too. If you want to talk about that, so you take 700.
You got no evidence that Floyd. No real evidence that Floyd took PED.
He did. What evidence? He lied about why he took it. 750 milliliters, which is way above the 50 milliliters per 6 hour requirement. Did he even get exemption before he took it? That is a red flag right there.
You got a retroactive TUE. Let me explain to you how this works. Let me explain this to you, how this works. Suppose an athlete, he's in the USADA program, and he's late in the USADA program, and suppose he hurts his leg, and he needs some painkillers which are on the ban list, right? And he needs them, but, if he takes them, he'll pop up positive, right? So what he'll have to do is get a retroactive TUE for those painkillers. And that's the same thing that Mayweather did for an IV.
3 weeks after the fight, he claimed he was dehydrated, right? He claims he walked around 152 pounds, right? At the weigh-in, he weighed at 146, I believe. All right. Why would you need why would you need a saline? I'm sorry, not saline. Why would you need an IV of the amount of 750 milliliters when you only need to rehydrate up to 6 pounds? That makes no sense.
Because he's an athlete, and see, it doesn't follow that Mayweather needed an IV because he was trying to cut weight. What if Mayweather was exercising too hard, or just going out for a run in the Las Vegas heat or something and got dehydrated? You can get dehydrated doing anything. I mean, if you go outside in a hot day, you can get dehydrated, right?
Well, all you need to do is drink water and eat a meal. Why would you need an IV of 750 millimeters? That makes no sense. There's a reason why IV is bad. Because he took
time. All right, that round is over with. And now we get to go to the final arguments, meaning the final statements, which Dan starts off and Eternal closes it out. So, guys, please close the show. Let's get it on.
All right. First things first, I gotta say this has been a very, very wonderful debate. I know, even though me and my opponent, we've had our spats early on, on the YTBC, whatnot, and we became adults. We found a way to make this work, to a compromise, and have this debate. Even through many disagreements, I really appreciate you, Eternal man. Much respect to you. All right, really appreciate you for that. But I would like to say one thing. Okay, there's a saying. To be the best, you have to fight the best, okay? To be great, you have to take on all comers, all right? That's what Evander did, and that's what Floyd didn't do, okay? Looking back at his career, Evander had to get into a fight against the white Muhammad Ali, all right? Again, we were bringing this up. Two-time weight division champion, light heavyweight and cruiserweight, one of the greatest fighters we've ever seen. He fought Ali in his 12th pro fight. A fight that no one gave Evander a chance to win, but he came out the victor to capture his title. Okay. Then after that, he defeated 3 other world champions. And then he defeated Carlos De Leon, who I mentioned should be in the Hall of Fame, to become undisputed champion, the first cruiserweight undisputed champion, and a linear champion in his 16th pro fight. He cleaned out the division. All right. Since then, he moved up the weight. And what people don't know is that he moved up to take on Tyson. His intention was to go after Tyson during that time. The same Mike Tyson who ran everybody, who was knocking everybody out, who struck fear in that division at that time, who quickly became the youngest champion and quickly became the undisputed champion and beat Michael Spinks, who's one of the greatest light heavyweights of all time. All right? Holyfield wanted Tyson. Nobody else wanted to fight that man. He wanted to go after Tyson. Of course, the situation with Tyson, he ended up in jail, whatnot. I understand that. But the fight didn't get made, so he fought Douglas instead. All right? He beat Douglas, a man who outweighed about 40 pounds. The same Buster Douglas who beat Oliver McCall, who knocked out Lennox Lewis. Craig Page, who was a great middle heavyweight at that time. And Trevor Berbick, the last man to defeat Muhammad Ali. Pre-Parkinson's stage Muhammad Ali. Okay? He defeated George Foreman. Okay? In that fight, that was the 7th round, one of the greatest rounds of all time. The same George Foreman who's ranked the pound-for-pound one of the best punchers in history. One of the best. Who wiped out 2 Hall of Famers in his prime, a guy that nobody wanted to fight either, who was more feared than Sonny Liston, that Ali had to beat. Okay? I'm sorry, hold on for a second, guys. Hold on.
You guys can't keep doing this. That's getting irritating. I got a life too, I want to see these fucking fights, so...
All right, here I am.
I got Guerrero fights coming up.
Yeah, I know there's a fight coming up with Guerrero and Garcia and Mansour's fighting Dominic Brazil. So, yeah, I want to get to that real quickly. Now, I want to say that he took on Alex Stewart. You mentioned Alex Stewart. Alex Stewart was undefeated, 24-0 at that time. A guy who was knocking everybody out, who had all his wins by way of knockout. A guy that Holyfield took on a prospect, an undisputed heavyweight prospect who was knocking everybody out. And Evander beat him and knocked him out, okay? And then he fought Larry Holmes. And like I mentioned, I know a lot of people want to flack Evander, call him a paper champion because he beat a way over the hill George Foreman and Larry Holmes. Well, people neglect the fact that Tommy Morrison couldn't knock out George Foreman, who was much more better puncher than Holyfield, okay? But they want to give Morrison credit for that. Larry Holmes, who Oliver McCall couldn't even knock out. The same Oliver McCall knocked out Lennox Lewis, right? But they want to give McCall credit for that fight against Holmes, but yet they want to shit on Holyfield. Okay? He took on Riddick Bowe, a guy who had a way longer reach than any opponents that Floyd has fought, who was stronger, much more quicker, in a fight that Bender was losing, but he had to take the fight against him, but he came up short. He engaged in the 10th round, was one of the best rounds of all time, one of the greatest trilogies of all time. He came back and beat Bowe in a rematch, the only man to defeat Riddick Bowe. Lost to Michael Moore, he had heart problems. He came back and beat Ray Mercer, who's a good world champion, who gave Lennox Lewis all he could handle. He came back, lost to Bowe, and then he defeated Mike Tyson. Okay, Mike Tyson again, who had a 25-1 favorite to beat Evander. Okay, and Evander went in there and knocked him out, became fighter of the year and upset of the year. Okay, in the ear bite situation, I know the ear bite, nobody wants to count that, but the fact is that Evander could quit in that fight and automatically have Tyson disqualified. But he decided to continue on and fight. He He didn't, cry and complain and all that stuff. Yeah, he was getting upset, but he went in there and fought Tyson. Even the time that his beard got taken off, he wanted to finish the fight and knock Tyson out. That's a great heart of a warrior, a man who's not going to quit. Many times he's been knocked down and knocked out. He always find a way to get back up and become a victor. Okay, he beat Michael Moore in a rematch, so he avenged that loss. Okay, with that said and done, I have to go down the list. He defeated. Again, he had 111 world titles, the same titles that Floyd has won. Okay, he defeated 5 Hall of Famers. Okay, and he had 10 knockouts in title fights, the same amount of knockouts that Floyd has in all his title fights. Okay, now as far as the Floyd's concerned, he did win 11 titles in 5 weight classes. Only became the unified champion twice. Yes, he defeated 22 world champions. Okay, all right, defeated only 3 Hall of Famers, defeated only 1 undisputed champion. Okay, never cleaned out a division, never became an undisputed champion, only made 2 defenses of his 154 title. So, and ducked his mandatories of Arizona Lar, okay, and avoided Sergio Martinez in the light middleweight division. Even avoided Golovkin, who wanted to fight him at 154. Okay, he has no trilogies, only 2 career rematches, avoided many prime opposition. Okay, many of them. Even avoided his mandatories. When has Evander Holyfield ever avoided fights, avoided mandatories, avoided prime opposition? I can't recall any. Yes, he took losses, but the fact is he fought everyone in his era, and he fought everyone who outgunned him. And he found a way to win, lose, or draw. He always gets the respect as an all-time great, opposed to Mayweather. And again, I have to cite that Mayweather fought guys who had 8 losing records opposed to Holyfield's 4. Okay? And I'm going to quote this, and I'm going to say this again. And this is an actual quote from Mayweather. This is from an article he gave with ESPN, I believe. He said, "I don't fight for legacy. I fight for none of that. I fight for the check. I'm in the check for cash and business." That's what he said. That's a quote. That's not from a Floyd Mayweather site, hating site. That's from an actual source. Okay. So with that being said, I can't. There's no way that Floyd could be ranked higher than Evander Holyfield when it comes to greatness. Again, being undefeated is so overrated. Okay, there's many fighters that retire undefeated, but they're not ranked as greater than like the likes of Ali, Foreman, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, Marvin Hagler. I can go on and on and on. Okay, Ricardo Lopez. Well, he was undefeated, but he did fight everybody. So with that being said, Evander in my book has a heart of warrior, is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, a man who had to constantly fight out of adversity many times where Floyd has never fought in adversity. Never. He never took the chance to do it. He didn't want to do it. He wanted to make as much money as he can and get out of the business with his clean bill of health. That's what he did. And the only way for people to buy, the only way he could get people to watch his fights is to do, out of ring antics, like, saying idiotic comments about Ali and Ali and Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard and whatnot. Disrespected the fighters that came before him who had to go through way harsher conditions that he ever had to go through, which he never had to go through, by the way. Okay? Again, always have to have advantages going into fights. You never fought outside of Vegas. By the way, Evander fought all over the world, even though he was way past his prime. He fought Nikolai Volev in Europe. Fought him pretty much in his backyard. When has Floyd ever done that? None. Now, back to Mike Tyson. You want to say that Mike Tyson is, Pacquiao's greater than Tyson. But let's ask you this. Pacquiao was a dominant champion? No, he was not. Was he a feared champion? No, he was not. Did he ever clean out a division? No, he did not. Tyson did all that. He fought everyone that was there to fight. And credit to Pacquiao, he did fight a lot of opponents. But he did not have the skill and attributes and the fear set that Tyson had. Okay? Canelo Alvarez. Okay. Not even a great fighter. Now, we all know Canelo's created his own weight class to get fights made, which is, I think that's bullshit, okay? Canelo Alvarez, before the Mayweather fight, only had one good win on his record. That was against Austin Trout, who's not even a great fighter, okay? Riddick Bowe, on the other hand, defeated Herbie High. Herbie High is some will rank him as one of the greatest British heavyweights of all time. He defeated Herbie High when he was undefeated. Okay, Herbie High, who was beating Bowe in the first fight, but Bowe found a way to come back and knock him out. Okay, Moore. All right, Michael Moore was a great light heavyweight. All right, he beat Holyfield in his prime. Yes, not in his prime. Sorry, he beat him when he's past his prime. I get that. But Michael Moore, even though he was a bit of an underdog in the second Holyfield fight, but he was still in much more better form than Holyfield. And Holyfield came in there and knocked him down 5 times and knocked him out. Okay, he took on Lennox Lewis. Yes, he got robbed on, that the first fight scorecard was atrocious. I agree to that, okay? but he still took on Lewis in a rematch. Okay, Evander fought everybody that was there to fight. Again, Floyd didn't do that. He never wanted to. He never had the heart or passion.
Time.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
Go ahead.
I'd like to thank my opponent for this debate. I think it's been a fire debate. I think it's been a good debate and good for the YouTube boxing community. Now, let me get into it. Mike Tyson got his ass beat by a 44-1 underdog. Went to jail, never came back as the same person. And I will say the first fight's a good win. But, you know, it doesn't change the fact that he got his ass beat by a 44-1 underdog. You want to criticize Mayweather's career with a microscope, you can do the same thing. I mean, Ray Mercer was 2-4 in world title fights, right? And Michael Moore beat Holyfield. Riddick Bowe beat him twice, knocked him out, right? And, you know, yeah, Larry Holmes, 42 years old, you know, George Foreman, 42 years old. And George Foreman, you're trying to put George Foreman on this great pedestal like he's greater than so many fighters. He's only got 5 world title fights he's won. Think about that. And Riddick Bowe only has 5 world title fights he won. And the reason why Riddick Bowe is a Hall of Famer is because he beat Holyfield's ass twice. And it's just that simple. And James Buster Douglas, you know, Holyfield was a favorite coming into this fight, and James Buster Douglas ballooned up in weight, right? And people think that ballooning up in weight or big weight is an advantage. Understand that smaller fighters have their advantages too. It makes them quicker, and in a heavyweight division, you will not see in the welterweight division, for the most part, in championship fights, anybody come in with a big belly, right? It's just not going to happen. They're going to be tight. There's going to be no flab there. And that's just heavyweight dynamics, you know. You're going to have people that are taller. You're going to have people that are bigger. You're going to have people that are shorter. It's just heavyweight dynamics. And you need to understand the other dynamics of weight divisions. And weight matters more in lower weight classes. It just does. That's why people fight for pounds, you know. And that's why Mayweather is a pound-for-pound fighter. One of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters to ever live. And, you know, I already explained to you, 175 title fight wins for Mayweather's opposition. You say he didn't fight for legacy. Well, did he beat the guy who everybody said he was going to avoid? Manny Pacquiao. Beat him. Fight of the century. And you want to talk about money. See, greatness, right, is making the most money in the sport ever something great? I would say yes, it is, right? Is winning 26 title fights without a loss, moving up 5 weight divisions, great. I would say yes. And my opponent seems to think that Mayweather's just an octopus, that he can fight 20 people at once. Understand, a lot of these mandatories, when Mayweather didn't fight certain mandatories, right, one time he retired and he didn't fight Cotto, and another time, instead of fighting Cotto, he tried to move up and fight the undisputed champion in Zab Judah, which is a more decorated champion. And understand that if you were around watching boxing at that time, you would know that that's a greater move than just fighting Cotto at the time. And he even beat Cotto, right? And you want to talk about Margarito. Mayweather didn't duck Margarito. Margarito got his ass beat the same time that Margarito made that video talking about Floyd, and in the video, Mayweather says, "I will fight you." And guess what happens? He gets his ass kicked by Paul Williams. And it's a no-brainer. Margarito, WBO belt, and Carlos Baldemir, lineal champion. Ring Magazine champion. It's a fucking no-brainer on who you're going to fight. And, you know, well, what good would it have done if Mayweather fought Margarito? All the critics would have just said, oh, he's just another punching bag, right? And you would be on here saying, oh, he's just another punching bag, right? And you've even said he's a punching bag. you know, and Mayweather's resume is stacked. Gennaro Hernandez, 12 title fight wins. Diego Corrales, 7 title fight wins. Multiple divisions. Jesus Chavez, 2. Jose Feliz Castillo, 6 title fight wins. Arturo Gatti, 7. Shabbe Mitchell, 5. The people you like to hate on. Zad Judah, 10 title fight wins. Oscar De La Hoya, 24. Ricky Hatton, 4. Juan Manuel Marquez, 14. Shane Mosley, 15. Miguel Cotto, 19. Manny Pacquiao, 18. These are the people, and you're saying Saul Canelo Alvarez is like this chump. You know, he's a 2-division champion with 8 title fight wins and was a lineal champion at the time. And Austin Trout is no chump, right? He was a champion at the time. So that's just something to think about. And, you know, he did all of this without a loss. And he's got the best plus minus of any fighter ever recorded. Probably the best defense ever. You want to talk about greatness? Is having one of the best defenses ever great? Absolutely. Is being one of the most accurate punchers great? Absolutely. Is climbing up 5 weight divisions and beating all this opposition great? Is being a 2-time welterweight champion great? You want to talk about 4-time heavyweight champion, 2-time welterweight, 2-time light middleweight champion, right? And that's not even counting his 8 defenses at super featherweight, right? And the reason why Mayweather is hardly ever an underdog in a fight is because he's so great. That's the reason. Mayweather makes great fighters look ordinary. Manny Pacquiao made him look ordinary. And you want to talk about Manny Pacquiao not having a great resume, what are you smoking? You know, he beat Timothy Bradley. He beat Cotto, Barrera twice. I mean, Morales. What are you talking about, dude? He's got a 10 times better resume than Tyson does. I'm sorry, he just does. You know, Oscar De La Hoya will smoke Tyson in a resume debate. When Mayweather fought Oscar De La Hoya, he had 24 title fight wins with 4 losses. Mike Tyson only has 12. And Mike Tyson, this great killer who got upset by a 44-1 underdog. When has any one of these fighters that I've mentioned been upset by a 44-1 underdog? And, you know, doing it all without a loss. I mean, Riddick Bowe, Big Daddy Riddick Bowe. I mean, you know, he's Holyfield's daddy because he beat his ass twice, knocked him the fuck out, right? And, you know, Michael Moore beat him. See, you want to talk about, you know, series and things like that, but in his series, he was marginal. 1-1 with Michael Moore, 2-1 with Riddick Bowe. And, you know, don't even make me get into John Ruiz. You know, first fight, obviously a robbery. Second fight, he lost. And a third fight is a draw. Most people thought Holyfield won the third fight. But this is the kind of series you're talking about. This is like Mr. Marginal when it comes to series, right? And really the only series that he got the best of is when he beat Kwawi, right? That's the only series he got the best of. In the first fight, he was getting his fucking ass kicked, and Mayweather's never looked that atrocious in any fight. Split decision, hurt multiple times, beat up the whole fight, and, you know, some people might argue that Kwawi won that fight, but, you know, I think Holyfield won it, but that's not the point. Mayweather has never looked that atrocious, and you're overselling Dwight Muhammad Kwawi, right? He's won only 6 title fights in 2 divisions, and, you know, when he fought him, he was 28-4, and a cruiserweight division is not a great division. Carlos de Leon did not fight great fighters. That's why he's not in the Hall of Fame. Go through his resume; it is trash. You know, he's got maybe a good win or 2 in there, but overall, he doesn't have a good resume. And even if you click on his biography in BoxRec, nothing fucking comes up, right? Because he's not a great fighter. And, you know, Mayweather had to do it the hard way. He didn't get to win.
Time. All right. Sorry, I had to do it because I did the Dan too. So I was fair. All right, so I'm sorry y'all both didn't get it done, but I swear I gave y'all a lot of time. Can't say this is not a lot of time. We done this for about an hour and 45 to 47 minutes. So
That was a great debate.
yeah, I hope you guys had fun.
Yes.
I appreciate you hosting the debate.
Thank you. I hope y'all understand what it takes to do this live compared to doing the video responses. It's a different game, man. It's just a different game. It's not easy. So all right, this is how I judge it. Both of y'all did horrible in the introduction. Y'all didn't have an introduction. So I count that one out. Y'all even on that one. The first one, Eternal, you didn't sell Floyd hard, and Dan, you didn't sell Evander. But I will say, even though Eternal, you made some good points, trashing Holyfield's opponents, Dan did counter some of your arguments, and I give that a 10-9 round to Dan. The second round, you did eliminate that Margarito Luckin argument with the Paul Williams fight. But you should Paul Williams losing to Katana and Paul Williams saying that his own mouth, quoting, I wasn't relevant for a Mayweather.
What did he say?
He wasn't relevant for a Mayweather fight.
When Paul Williams was talking shit about Mayweather, he got his ass knocked out by Sergio Martinez in the next fight. So
I'm talking about wheelchair Paul Williams said.
Oh, wheelchair. Yeah. He said that Mayweather didn't do it.
I'm just saying the reason why Paul Williams wasn't relevant on Floyd ducking him. I'm just giving you what you didn't mention in there. And also, you should have emphasized a little bit more. Floyd won all his mega fights. Holyfield didn't. Despite Holyfield fighting all comers of his generation, he has got knocked out, or he has a draw, or sometimes he had a letdown where he lost. Mayweather had a letdown there, and he persevered, despite the politics, whatever. But you need to emphasize these points. Now, Dan, the things I was looking for you was to emphasize undisputed compared to lineal. Now, you did you did emphasize the dominant champion compared to the paper champion argument. I respect that. But you should have named more fighters, like, for instance, De Leon. You should have named the fighters that he beat their signature wins. I was interested about that, because if you're going to allow Eternal Boxing God to dog him, talking about is the reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame, well, name the fights that make Hall of Famer, despite the defenses, him winning a vacant title at one point, but emphasize why he was a dominant champion before Holyfield took it from him, and emphasize more so of how Holyfield performed and why he's more revered compared to how Mayweather performs and how he's revered. And then Eternal, I was looking for you to bring up how on longevity, on past their prime, how much Mayweather was more of a smarter fighter compared to Holyfield, and how more effective he was of winning bigger fights compared to when Holyfield got older. He was declining and winning bigger fights. So either way, you know, the second round is still 10-9 or 10-10, but I won't give it 10-9 to Dan. Now the opening discussion, this is where somebody could got knocked down and everything. I got to deduct a point on Dan with his mama, and Eternal, I got to deduct 2 points from you for whatever you was doing. I had to count almost a whole minute or 2 minutes of you not coming back. But as far as the tempo, Dan was dominating on the questions, and then you finally come around in the second half and dominate on the questions. But y'all got into some drug testing that nobody gives a fuck about. All I give a fuck about is the fights, how they perform, the legacies, and all. And you guys didn't emphasize it enough. Now,
I don't know about that.
I just wanted you to take me home more with Floyd, and I wanted him to take me home more about Evander. And I didn't get that from neither one of you guys.
Well,
now,
I said he was the best defensive fighter ever.
I'm talking about in the open discussion. Now, you did take Floyd home in your final statement. I give you that. And he took Evander home with his final statement. But when it came to who's answering the questions more accurately, both of you guys did good. But I just felt like Dan had a little more control. But Eternal, you made a lot of good points. So for that, I have to call that an even rounds. That's 10-10. But the final statements, that's 10-10. I call it a split decision, and I'm gonna have to give it to Dan. But Eternal, you did better than Shady Slim. You did better than a lot of guys. I must admit, I underestimated you. But you showed me that you did your homework, and you're game for anybody. So you got my respect on this debate and shit. And I salute to you.
I appreciate that, bro.
And
yeah,
Dan,
I respect you, man. Respect you too.
Dan, you did an awesome job, and we all need to keep doing more debates and keep us sharper and give us more boxing knowledge and more passion for the YTBC. And I'm glad you guys chose me to be the moderator. And I thank you both.
Yeah, I thank you too, man. Great debate, Dan.
Hey, no problem, bro. No problem. Great debate.
All right,
So,
I'm out.
So, guys, that's the debate. Hope you guys enjoy it. And we out. Peace.
Peace.